What happens when an entire generation loses its digital voice? In September 2025, Nepal became the stage for one of the most dramatic clashes between government control and youth resistance that the world has seen in years. A single decision to ban 26 of the world's biggest social media platforms ignited a firestorm of protest, anger, and ultimately tragedy. At first, the government's explanation seemed straightforward. Officials said the ban was needed to regulate misinformation, stop the rise of fake accounts, and prevent the spread of hate speech. On paper, this sounded like a move to protect citizens. But on the ground, people saw something very different. These platforms were not just entertainment. For millions of young Nepalese, they were classrooms, workplaces, social circles, and lifelines. Silencing them felt like silencing a generation. And then came the detail that made everyone suspicious. TikTok was left untouched. Why would one app, accused globally of spreading propaganda, remain free while others were blocked? Was it coincidence, political calculation, or quiet influence from foreign powers? No one really knew, but the decision created a wave of distrust. Suddenly it wasn't just about platforms, it was about power. And that is where the story deepens. Because the ban was not the cause of Nepal's unrest. It was the spark that ignited years of frustration, disappointment, and anger that had been simmering beneath the surface. For decades, Nepal's political system has been plagued by instability. Since the monarchy ended in 2008, 13 different governments have risen and fallen. Each promised reform, progress, and opportunity, and each failed to deliver. For young people, the consequences were devastating. Unemployment soared. In just 1 year, more than 700,000 Nepalese left the country to find work abroad, leaving behind families and dreams that had no space to grow at home. Corruption was not just whispered about, it was flaunted. A viral social media trend called Nepo Kid mocked the children of politicians who lived in luxury while ordinary youth struggled just to find jobs. This wasn't satire anymore, it was rage wrapped in humor. So when the government cut off access to social media, it felt like cutting off the one place where the youth could vent, laugh, connect, and organize. The backlash was immediate. The streets of Kathmandu, usually busy with traffic and daily life, transformed into arenas of resistance. Students in school uniforms, workers in dusty clothes, artists with banners, young professionals with smartphones, all came together. It was unlike any protest Nepal had seen before. There were no party flags, no clear leaders, no single political ideology. It was a raw, leaderless movement born out of shared frustration. What made it even more remarkable was the way it spread. With social media down, the protesters used word of mouth, offline messaging, even handwritten posters to mobilize. The very act of silencing digital platforms forced the movement into the streets, proving that when one voice is cut, many more will rise. The government, however, saw it differently. To them, this was not youthful expression, it was disorder, and their response escalated fast. Tear gas and water cannons gave way to batons and rubber bullets. But when protesters refused to retreat, live ammunition was used. By the end of that bloody day, 19 lives had been lost, hundreds lay injured, and many of them were just teenagers. Hospitals overflowed, families mourned, and images of bloodied students circulated across the very networks the government had tried to silence. The shockwaves were immediate. Candlelight vigils filled city squares. The international community began asking questions, and inside Nepal's fragile government, pressure mounted. Within days, the ban was lifted. The Home Minister resigned, and Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli stepped down, unable to withstand the fury. On the surface, the protesters had won. They had reclaimed their digital space, forced accountability, and toppled a government. But beneath that victory lay a much deeper reality. The causes of the Nepal incident were not solved. The political system remained fragile. The unemployment crisis persisted. The corruption scandals didn't vanish, and the young people who had filled the streets were still staring at a future that felt uncertain. What unfolded in Nepal was more than just a moment of anger. It was a generational warning. Technology had been treated as a threat, but in truth, it was the mirror reflecting society's pain. For the youth, social media was not just distraction, it was education, activism, and hope. By cutting it off, the government didn't silence a problem, they magnified it. And the incident revealed something even bigger, something that goes beyond Nepal's borders. Around the world, from Asia to Africa to Latin America, governments are grappling with the same question. How do you balance control with freedom in the digital age? Social media can spread misinformation, but it also empowers voices that are often ignored. And when governments choose to control instead of engage, the result is rarely silence, it is resistance. The Nepal incident became a global case study. Analysts began comparing it to the Arab Spring, where digital tools played a role in mobilizing protest. Others saw parallels with Hong Kong, where young people used technology to stay ahead of the authorities. But in Nepal's case, the attempt to cut off technology backfired spectacularly. Instead of breaking the movement, it intensified it. In Kathmandu, protest banners read, "Shut down corruption, not social media." That one sentence captured the heart of the crisis. The problem was never just the platforms, it was the broken promises, the widening inequality, and the feeling that those in power were more concerned with silencing criticism than solving real problems. And this is why the Nepal incident matters for all of us. It shows that in today's world, revolutions don't always need leaders, speeches, or even megaphones. Sometimes they begin with hashtags, sometimes they grow through memes, and sometimes when those digital tools are taken away, they spill into the streets with even greater force. The tragedy of Nepal lies in the lives lost, the futures cut short, and the scars left on a nation still searching for stability. But the lesson of Nepal is powerful. When you deny a generation both opportunity and voice, you don't get silence, you get resistance. And when that resistance comes, it doesn't ask for permission, it demands change. This is Beyond Binary, where we decode the future, the facts, and the forces shaping our world. If this story gave you a new perspective, hit subscribe, share your thoughts in the comments, and stay tuned. Because the next revolution may not start in Silicon Valley, it may begin in places the world rarely watches, just like Kathmandu.